Well, when I started out in '87, it was actually early '88, I made my research trip all the way to Santa Monica because I had started this map, which turned into a huge project. I didn't think it was going to be that big, but it's a long road. I made up my first flyer, which I handed out to whoever I met along the way, and I made a point to stop at as many businesses as possible. And I gave out these flyers that just had a 66 shield on it with the big word business, Old Route 66 business, and told merchants that they could put these in their windows so the traveling public was aware that they were on this historic highway, because the signs had come down in 1985 when the road was decertified. And little did I know that there were a lot of other people all along the road that were working to try to establish the historic significance of Route 66. And in 1987, a group of people met in Arizona, and they're usually credited with starting this 66 revival, and that's Angel Delgadillo and some others. And they founded the first Route 66 Association, but within a few years all 8 states had associations, and then during the 90s a number of other nations established Route 66 associations. So I did my thing just kind of independent of others, just on my own as a traveling artist. I had access to the road that a lot of other hard-working preservationists didn't have, but they did their thing in their own community. And I've been referred to as a goodwill ambassador along 66, and I'm traveling. I've been referred to as a number of different things, but I've had the freedom to travel and meet a lot of other preservationists and then the old-timers along the route. And unlike a lot of other people involved with 66, I haven't really put that much time in as a volunteer, and those are the heroes to me, or the people that, and there's a lot of them right here today that are from Chandler here, that have put in hundreds of hours on a voluntary basis in various efforts here that are trying to restore this ancient armory building. And I've made money off 66, unlike most 66 enthusiasts. But I've come by it honestly, of course. I do my artwork and sell it. But most of these volunteers, they get the satisfaction of helping preserve something, but they're the ones that are that I really look up to, the ones that put the time in various restoration projects. And every state now has, as far as I know, every state has a preservation committee in its 66 association that's specifically involved with working on sites. Illinois is a good example. They've successfully restored an old gas station. They not only got grant money for that, but they got one of the motel chains to send volunteers to help with the project. And those are people that work for this motel chain that went to Odell, Illinois and put in time helping reshingle it and repaint it. But it's still a heartbreaking thing. If you love old buildings and old bridges, you can't escape. It's hard to take the losses, and even if you know they're coming, like the John's Modern Cabins, which should be preserved. The place, it deserves to be saved, but not enough people have enough time or money to do the job. And it's partly due to the pace of life in this country and the way taxes are set up. A lot of old buildings are bulldozed because the property owner doesn't want to pay the property taxes on it. You have to pay property taxes on structures that stand. Tear them down, and then that eliminates that much property tax. So it's still very sad to see things lost, but it's very gratifying that so many people are involved in at least trying to save places, even if it's a lost cause. And of course, a lot of places have been saved in the nick of time that otherwise would be gone now. So 66 is kind of a phenomenon that people from anywhere in the world can get involved with passionately and affectionately, and then they are a part of the 66 community or family, and they have this mutual love. And I think it wouldn't have to be 66, but 66 is really the best symbol for, it's like a doorway into the past. Really, it symbolizes the good old days in so many different ways, as well as the bad old days. At least now, driving on the interstate highway, you don't have to worry about bloody head-on collisions, and that was a problem that became kind of an epidemic on not just old 66, but a lot of roads, because all of a sudden the traffic was too thick and fast it was no longer compatible all of a sudden with these sharp curves and blind hills. And so it's just, I still have hope that as many people as possible will get involved in other kinds of preservation too, through their involvement with Route 66 and preservation. I'm first and foremost an armchair naturalist, and I'm most concerned with preservation of nature. And what appealed to me early on in my 66 research was how much closer the traveler was able to be to nature as opposed to being on the interstate, where instead of having a 100-foot right-of-way that's mowed and maintained and nature is pushed way back, you've got nature kind of creeping and growing right out over the road. And in my simple thinking simply, just by traveling on 66, people are closer to nature, and of course people are inclined to slow down and stop more, and it's frequently safe to stop along 66, which is something you can't do on the interstate. But I'll say this for the interstates, you can get a kind of a better perspective of a region by being on the interstate frequently, because on 66 you're nestled down, you're following the land, and you can't really see that land as well because you're closer to it. You get up on some of the 66 or interstate grades, and you can see how old 66 wound along and followed the contours of the land, whereas the interstate just kind of blasted through. They had to iron out the grades and the curves on the interstate, but the earlier alignments of 66 followed them and just either circuitously went around things or made a steep grade rather than blasting right